All right, in chapter 10 of Matthew still, with verse 29, aren't 2 sparrows sold for an Assyrian coin? Not one of them falls on the ground apart from your Father's will, but the very hairs of your head are all numbered. Therefore, don't be afraid. You are of more value than many sparrows. And so this is just Jesus telling his disciples persecution is coming, but God knows everything that's going to happen. God knows every bird that falls to the ground, or that, not one of them falls to the ground apart from your Father's will. God knows it all. God knows all the hairs on your head. God is so concerned about every little detail. Isn't that encouraging? And here's what I wrote. It is easy for us to forget just how caring, involved, and in control God is. Now, the 2 chapters of the Bible that have helped me the most as far as just knowing that God cares for me, knowing God's promises for me, those are Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, that chapter. And then Romans 8, which I get that, if God is for me, who can be against me? And if God didn't spare his own son, how will he not with him freely give me all things? So I quote those verses very often because they tell me that God knows about me and God is for me. God cares for me. And you need to really remind yourself of that too, that you should be telling yourself all the time, anytime you get a little bit of stress, a little bit of fear, a little bit of depression, every time that you face just a hint of that, you need to just remind yourself, and you need to quote these verses and these promises. For me, it's primarily Psalm 23 and Romans 8, because life is a test. Life is a test of your faith. That are you going to trust God? It's such a great test of a relationship, and I'm glad it's this way. Life is not supposed to be easy. Life is supposed to be test after test of, do you trust God? Do you trust God? Do you trust God? Can you achieve something big? Can you go after something big? Can you go after something risky and maintain your peace and joy? And let me tell you what, I'm getting better and better and better at it, and that's character. Because when you have peace and joy, the Bible says that the joy of the Lord is our strength. And so when you face challenges and fears, and you can have peace and joy in that, then that means you will have the strength to obey God through it. Because otherwise, if you're overcome by fear and not faith, you're going to make bad decisions. You're going to disobey God instead of obey. You're going to try to manipulate the circumstances and the situation outside of God's will, and we shouldn't do that. So I want to encourage you to memorize, maybe not all of it, but really memorize the promises that speak to you in Romans 8 and Psalm 23. And when you're going through hard times, read those and say, how does this apply to me? Put your name in it. That God, for me, God is Jeremy's shepherd, and he shall not want, And gosh, those verses are so good. And then it goes on to say in verse 32, everyone, therefore, who confesses me before men, him I will also confess before my Father who is in heaven. Whoever denies me before men, him I will also deny before my Father who is in heaven. And I wrote in my commentary, your words reveal your loyalty. You can find out what someone is loyal to based on their words. And Jesus is telling us here that if you deny Jesus before people, he's going to deny you before his Father. So really make sure that you observe your words. If you deny Jesus when there's some peer pressure, that isn't good. That's telling you that you aren't loyal to Jesus. And so change your loyalty to Jesus and allow that to overflow out of your mouth, because out of the abundance of the mouth, the heart speaks. And if you can deny Jesus in your words, then that means that you deny Jesus in your heart. Fix your heart first, and your words will follow. So I believe the most important part of growing as a Christian is belonging to a small group. Getting together with people who genuinely care about you. You can listen to each other, and you can share life together, share your struggles. You can share your thoughts on what you learned. It is the most important part of my relationship with God. And even Jesus said, where 2 or more you are gathered, I will be with you. So I want to encourage you to be a part of a small group if you haven't joined one already. And some churches might call that a Sunday school group. But I also, if you don't have a book or a study to go through, I really want to recommend my 100 questions every Christian should ask themselves. You can find it on Amazon.com by Googling or searching Jeremy Spry book, or you can click the link above.